Today, we're going to be hearing from panelists from both big and small firms. In this first session, we'll hear from the professionals from the big firms. Before we start, though, I'd like to quickly introduce our committee that's been working very hard planning and getting this together. And if y'all could just kind of wave when I say your name. Jan Theron, who is our moderator in this session. Crystal Reeves, who's our moderator for the afternoon session when we talk with the small firm panelists. Monica Walters, who's our communication coordinator, along with Annie Miranda, who's also acting as communication coordinator and has been instrumental in getting some of our speakers. John DeLeon, who teaches Revit and is kind of our technical go-to guy. And Imelda Escatel, who's the speaker for the afternoon session for the small firms. I don't believe she's here this morning. She's a manager and is working hard this morning. Lastly, I'd like to introduce Candace Rogers, and she's the Professional Development Director on the board of ASID Gulf Coast Chapter, kind of our boss, and she'll be introducing our panelists. She's also founder and principal designer at Candace Rogers Interior Design and co-host of Health and Wellness podcast. So Candace.
Hi, everyone. So I just want to welcome everyone. And again, thank you to all of the committee members for putting this together. So I'd like to talk a little bit about ASID. So I'm going to share my screen. And can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. So for our student members with ASID, let me go up to this first. So for an ASID membership, it's only $85 for the entire time that you are a student. So you pay a one-time $85 fee, and that's for up to 6 years, and that covers your student membership. Some of the things that we offer with ASID as a student member, we have a student Facebook page, which is ASID Student Connect _ Texas Gulf Coast Chapter. You guys might hear my cat. He just came in. On the Facebook page, we post a lot of events that are happening with our local chapter, even nationally. People also post, I saw recently there was a post for an internship, and there was also a posting for a job position. So people do post various things that have to deal with students. So I highly recommend that everyone join that Facebook page. That to me is your easiest way to get the information for students. Other things that we have coming up for students, we have a virtual student portfolio show that's getting ready to come out. The deadline has already passed for people to enter, but we will be having another portfolio show in 2021. And so I highly recommend for the students to enter in that, and also emerging professionals can enter too. We usually have anywhere from 40 up to 70 plus designers and people in the industry that attend the portfolio show. So we always have a really good showing. People usually get internships and job offers from the portfolio show. We also have our Ruby Awards coming up in 2021, and we have student categories. We have a commercial student. We also have a residential student award. So I recommend that you guys enter those. Anything that you can put on your resume or your bio for awards or even committees that you have volunteered for will set you apart from other people in the industry. We also are going to have a student career day coming up in 2021 in April, so look out for that. We're constantly having continuing education courses. National is giving out scholarships. And then we also have an emerging professionals Facebook page. All of that information is on this sheet. And I think we can email that out to the schools so that you guys can have this information. But also I want to just tell everyone to go to asid.org. That is the national webpage. And in the search box, type in students, and you will see all of the student member benefits. I'm looking at it right now on my phone, and they have a virtual internship. They also have a national student portfolio competition. There are, again, our student chapter awards. And then they have SCALE, which is the ASID National Student Summit. And they also have a regional SCALE X that you can attend. So just look into those. I would just recommend attending everything that you can. And hopefully you join ASID. It's great for networking and just connecting with the industry. Okay, so our moderator today is Jan Therian. She is the owner of JT Designs. She's been an interior designer for over 40 years. She graduated from Southern Illinois University in Carbondale with a Bachelor of Science in Interior Design. She has a minor in art history. She started her design career at Sunnyland Office Furniture in the contract division, designing corporate interiors as in offices, banking institutions, healthcare, country clubs, etc., and was selected to work in a special division called SRM that designed and furnished office systems. Sunnyland also had a residential division in which Jan provided homeowners with interior design solutions for their homes. In 1989, she started her own company, JT Designs, which is a full-service design firm. Her passion for interior design continues, working with a variety of clientele, providing impeccable design and service. Some of her many projects are banking institutions, healthcare, hair salons, corporate offices, and residences. When she started her career, she recognized the importance of being involved in a professional design organization. She was a charter member of IIDA and past ASID Professional Development Director. She continues to volunteer on different committees supporting the design community. She's also a member of NKBA, is CAPS CAP certified with NHBA, providing aging in place design services. She is an energizer and impacts many lives with her design. Thank you, Jan, for being our moderator today.
Yes, thank you.
And then I'd like to introduce our speakers for today, our panelists, and these are panelists that are with large firms. We have Lori Coton. She is the CEO. She is a real estate broker and senior interior design of Coton House Realty, which is design and remodel. And she is the new president of TXGC ASID. Yay, Lori. She brings a wealth of experience and knowledge to the arena. After graduating from UT Austin with a BBA, she worked in various sales positions, including pharmaceutical sales manager. She embarked on a new path and achieved a degree in interior design from the Art Institute and studied architecture at U of H. Lori embarked on her design career by purchasing and renovating homes for resale. She soon discovered that proficiency as a licensed realtor complemented her design skills. Lori's clients value her professionalism, patience, and guidance throughout the process. Her role as managing broker for a local boutique real estate agency opened new horizons for combining real estate, design, and remodeling services under the umbrella of Coton House Realty. The firm currently has 25 agents, a remodeling division, design division, new home team, and high-rise apartment leasing team. She's also a member of Houston Independent Real Estate Brokers Association, founding member of the Lions Club of Houston Montrose, a GHBA member, and she's on the HAR Professional Development Committee. She's a member of the Rice Design Alliance and also a member of the River Oaks Networking Group. She's also been active with board positions with St. John's School, AFS, Zoo Friends, and River Oaks Elementary. And she looks forward to bringing these experiences to her new position on the board of ASID. So we welcome Lori. We also have Ryan Boo. He is an emerging professional, and and he joined Kirksey as a member of the interiors team in 2018. The majority of his experience includes projects focused on corporate interiors. Ryan's primary responsibilities include design development, project coordination, and construction administration. His attention to detail and proactive client communication ensure that the client's directives and timeline are always met. Prior to joining the firm, Ryan participated in Kirksey's internship program, and while he was attending Sam Houston State University. And also Ryan also is a former student rep to the board for ASID. So welcome, Ryan. And then lastly, we're going to have Laura Mertz. She's a senior associate. She's an architectural designer at PDR, and she brings 15 years of professional experience in the architecture industry. She's worked on projects that encompass workplace strategy, programming, design concept development, furniture selection, and construction documentation and construction administration. As a leader in sustainability, she has worked to implement new certification programs and initiatives in the workplace. She's acquired expertise in understanding the design process, historic preservation, lighting integration, furniture specifications, and the construction permitting process. She's worked for both large and small clients, and she's gained experience in everything from programming and design to construction, detailing, cost, and scheduling. So a lot. Laura's best attention to detail and meticulous approach to projects and scheduling help to ensure that client needs are accurately met. Her approach to design stays true to her core values of carefully crafting a space that is centered on the needs of the occupant by designing from the inside out. She values working closely with leadership as well as the end user, all while using her lead and well-building experience to design environmentally responsible projects. So welcome, Laura Mertz.
Well, we're going to go ahead and start with the first question. What interested you to get into the design field as a career? And tell us about your journey in design. And we'll start with Lori Coton first.
Okay, and I'll try to make this as brief as I can, but I had a great job in pharmaceuticals, loved it. I mean, got paid well, I had a company car, all that. But we had multiple deaths in the family, and I decided that, you know what, life is too short to not do something that you really enjoy doing. So, I thought about it for a while and decided I've always really enjoyed design. So went back to school, and I think I felt like I was kind of old at the point. I was in my late 20s. Went back to design school and just thoroughly enjoyed it. And I will admit my grades were much better the second time around. Okay, so back to your question, what made me get into it? I just think it's interesting. It's something that you can learn from every single day. And I had planned on graduating and then working for a designer, but I had a baby. And so, I thought, gosh, what am I going to do? I need to, obviously I need to be with the baby. So I started buying houses in my neighborhood because that way I could put him in the wagon or in the stroller, and I started flipping them. And it was great because, there's a lot of things that you just don't learn in school. You just learn by getting out there and doing it. So I learned all about permits and how electricians don't like the plumbers and the wood floor guys get mad at the painters and all that. But I also realized that there's a lot of design in structure, and realized that not all realtors are created equal. So, like any profession, it is what you make it to be. So I decided, I can represent myself better on contracts, on the building, on everything. So that's why I got into both. And it's been really good to be in real estate and also be in design, because they really do go hand in hand. And it makes for a much better advice scenario to both sides. You can say, what, this is going to cost this much. It's probably a good idea not to put this much in this home if you're only going to be here for 3 or 5 years. And on the same side, with design, it's really great because I have a better understanding on what is this cove ceiling going to cost, or what are the trends right now that I'm really seeing in which neighborhoods. So I think that basically answered that question in a nutshell, did it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, well, go ahead now. Ryan, do you want to go ahead and answer that question?
For me, I would say it was like since I was little, I kind of stay with my grandma and she loves decorating. And it's just the thing that is kind of get into you bit by bit and it's building up on it. And then as rolling up, I kind of get exposed to different things and especially like documentaries and things like that. And I learned about blueprint and it just immersing myself in the love that I love looking at the blueprint, even though I don't understand a thing on it. Um, and with that, I kind of like, well, I think around 10th grade, I need to make my decisions what I want to do in the future. And I just like, you know what? I'm gonna just try it. I'm just gonna try it, and that's where I kind of decided to be the interior designer because it's also something that's so close to my heart that remind me of my grandmother all the time, and I can get exposed to the blueprint. So that's where my passion coming from.
Okay, very good. How about you, Laura?
Yeah, so my father's actually in the construction industry. So I grew up going to job sites. And so I think that's kind of where that started. But I knew I didn't really want to do construction. I had an interest in art. I had an interest in design. And so I went to architecture school. I got my bachelor and my master's in architecture. But also when I was younger, I worked at I think I was in high school, I worked at a home builder. And so I did some residential for a while. I did base building. So I did more of the architecture side of things where I focused more on the shell of the building. And we always had an interior design department at every firm that I worked at. And to be quite honest, my view was, well, they just pick paint. And that, I think over the years was proven to be not true. And what I started loving about interior architecture was what an effect you could have on people. And also you didn't have to worry as much about weatherproofing, which I liked. I started after about working for about 5 to 6 years in the architecture side of things. I moved to doing interior architecture, and I worked in a few different sectors. I did healthcare, corporate. I do corporate now, and I just loved it. It kind of was a really good mix of my roots, which was kind of started in residential when I was younger, and that's what my dad does. And design. So I just love it. And I don't at all miss doing base building. But I like dealing with people and affecting their lives. And I think that's a great part about interiors.
Good. All right. This question is for Laura and for Ryan. Why did you want to work at this firm? And how did you get your job? So Laura, if you want to continue, why did you want to work at PDR?
Sure. So when I started looking at PDR, I had been in the industry for about 10 years, and I had worked at a lot of different firms. I'd worked at small firms. I'd worked at large firms. I'd worked at small residential firms. I'd worked at larger commercial firms. And so I think having tried a few different places, I knew what I was looking for. And so I was looking for a firm that really focused on the human experience, that really focused on the why behind the what. So not just selecting pretty things, but why are you doing it? And purposeful, thoughtful design. and PDR really encompasses that. And and the way that I got connected with it is there was someone I had worked with earlier in my career who had moved to PDR, and he said, you should come, you should check us out. So I said, okay. So I was working in healthcare at the time, which I knew I didn't want to continue working in healthcare because it was not my favorite. I think there's good things about it, but it was not my forte. So I looked at, I think 3 different firms. Actually, Kirksey was one of them, Ryan. On my list, I had kind of a top 3. I looked at Gensler, I looked at Kirksey, and I looked at PDR, and I felt that PDR was the best fit for what I was looking to do for the rest of my career, and the people and the policies, and so that's why I chose PDR.
Good. So Ryan, how about you?
For me, when I was looking for internship when I was in school, I kind of set myself a goal that I can apply for at least 3 to 5 firms per week or 2 weeks. And then so I applied to PDR, Gensler, Corgan, Kirksey, and such. And I have multiple interview with several firms. And I think the reason that I want to stay with Kirksey is the culture that I can feel when I have the interview with them. And throughout the internship that I have with them, I felt like Kirksey providing some more than just a place to work, but it's more a second family to me, because we have a lot of internal activities that create a bond between each of us. And it's not just about work. And it's also like when you work too much, my leader was like, no, you have to go home. Like, you cannot stay here any longer. Like, I'm not allowed you to do that. And that's really it's give me a lot of meaningful, because not all the bosses will care for you, right? Because especially in the large firm where we have up to like 150 people, 200 people, that is really meaningful thing for him to say something like that. So I think that's the reason why I love and I enjoy working with Kirksey.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Lori, what types of skills do you bring to the table at your firm?
Well, that's a really good question. And I think because I'm the boss, I think sometimes it's almost like when, remember what the Peanuts shows, how Lucy has the little board house and she's there and it's like, okay, open, and everybody just keeps coming in. I think the skills that I have that I bring to the firm are, I really care about my people. I really want to figure out what it is that they want to do and then hone in on it and help them be the best that they can be. The other thing that I think I have a skill is listening to what the trends are going around and thinking creatively outside of the box. Because I want whatever we do to be a win-win-win-win for whoever we include, and trying to include not only people within our firm, but also people outside of our firm to work together to establish goals that we can all meet. One thing as far as, I guess, what I'm good at is the people that I hire because their attitude fits the collaborative attitude that we have here. So I guess from my past experience in sales at Xerox and also in pharmaceuticals, I've learned to ask very good open-ended questions, which helps me then to figure out, who's going to be a good fit and what we're going to do. So let's see here. Okay, so what other skills I bring to the table? I can tell you some of the skills I bring to the table that probably aren't that good too, but it's like it's a day at the races every day because there's so much opportunity. And again, that's why Coton House has been around for less than 2 years, because I see that opportunity and I want to get it. And that's why we've got, all the different new divisions. And again, that's to help people realize their goals and help them get there. So that was actually a very good question, because it does make you think. It's like, what are your skills? The other skill I would say too is letting other people be in charge. I don't have to, I don't micromanage. I give them, I actually tell them, what I expect, what I would like, and I let them go and run off with it. So, so what we've created really is a very good collaborative atmosphere. And I think that's a key skill.
Very good. Okay. Laura, how about what type of skills do you bring to PDR?
So PDR brought me on because I had experience in a lot of different areas, and I think that's was really the main thing, because I work in corporate interiors, and our clients are a large range of people, and they appreciate different perspectives. And so I had worked in residential, I had worked in base building, I had worked in healthcare. And so I brought a lot of different perspectives, and PDR really appreciated that. And I think it's really helped to have tried a lot of different things, so that I can bring a different view to the table. And so that, I guess, something I would encourage students to do is try on a lot of different hats. Don't think that you have to work at one firm for 20 years and never do anything else, because that experience brings really great perspective, and our clients appreciate that perspective. Of course, I did have the schooling background. I also have a few different certifications, sustainability, you probably heard in my resume. So I've focused a lot on sustainability, not only when I was doing residential, but now I think it's so important to build responsible and sustainable environments. And so that was another thing that I think PDR hired me for. And I also had experience in leading teams. So I lead teams at PDR. And leadership is something you have to, constantly work on. I really loved your point, Lori, of having the ability to let someone else do it. Because it can be a little bit hard as a leader. You're like, let me help you with that. But just trusting your team and building up your team, and understanding that they're skilled professionals, and being able to delegate. And so I think that's another skill that I've learned over the years that I use at PDR.
Good, very good. Okay, Ryan, this question's for you. What advancements, when you were hired on with Kirksey, what advancements does your firm offer to you?
Advancement. I think Kersey giving me the chance to be myself and like really bring what I can offer to the table, instead of like put me into the mold that you have to follow this, you have to do this, you have to do that. Instead, they give me the freedom to do what I want and what I enjoy. So for example, if I got a science project, they will my team leader, which is like, here are the client information, here the programming, there's some kind of the basic of design, why don't you check and run with it to see where it's landing. And a lot of time he just gonna come back and like, hey, maybe you want to change this here, maybe you want to change it there. But they really give me the option that to do what I want and treat me as an equal. Like, it's not like, oh, you're young, you're new, you have to follow what we are saying. You can do your own voice too.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Did they also talk to you about how do you advance with the company too?
Yes, I think it's just go for it. What would you say?
When you were hired to where you are now, did they mentioned to you or talked to you about advancing with the firm as far as certain positions?
Well, so that thing is always go with the years, right? It's not like you come in for 2 years, 3 years, and you're gonna move up. So a lot of that needs to be based on, are you deciding to do that, or are you enjoy what you are doing right now? How you gonna be? Because I know a lot of that need to be do with licensing as well. Um, so pretty much you have there's a basic that I would say that requirements for you to be advanced in your career in larger firm, like you have to have your licensing, you have to be a certain amount of years before you can do that, if that answers your question.
Yes, yes. Okay, this is for all the panelists. Since the pandemic, how is your firm operating business in your projects? What have you learned from it? You can go ahead and tell us some positives and negatives. So we'll start with Lori Coaten.
Okay. You know, I will say that at the beginning, it gave us a lot of time because we slowed down a lot the first 6 weeks. It gave us a lot of time to go back and really capitalize on our foundations and to get very organized and with boring things, accounting, billing, adding people to newsletter lists, to the sphere of influence, CRM, all that. But I think the way that it's really helped is it's helped us to see that we can do so many more meetings and save so much time just by doing them on Zoom. When you consider how much time that we used to spend going out of the office. And people, people don't necessarily want to come in. We still have some, but we are saving so much time just with Zoom meetings. And it really is quite beneficial, especially when you think about having an initial meeting that way. You can take notes, you can figure out what the goals are, and then move forward from there. So I think that's been really good. The other thing is that we're not going to the Deck Center. We have a huge library now. And so really everything we need is right here. And so we don't have to go out. So again, I think that our main thing that we've learned is time management. It's really helped with time management.
Good point. Mm-hmm. All right. Lori? Laura?
So, the pandemic has been interesting. We are a large firm, so we were set up we had robust technology in place. We had, Teams, Microsoft Teams, that we used for calls, and documents in place. So switching to working from home wasn't that big of a challenge. I think one challenge is always the physical items. We're all used to working with physical items in the office, and now all of a sudden I've got 15 different samples of every different kind of everything being delivered to my house, and it's like, oh, don't have room for all that in the dining room. So that has been a challenge. I think one of the huge pluses has been our clients have been forced to stop and think for a moment. I think, Lori, that was a good point of stop, refocus, rethink. How are you doing things? What is the future of design? What are people going to want when they go back? So we focus on workplace. So what are people going to want when they go back to the office? What have we been doing right? What have we been doing wrong? And I think it's actually been really fantastic because it's allowed us to really reimagine the future of design for commercial interiors. And so we've had some time to put together thoughts, to put together kind of strategies on what that future could look like. And so I think it's been really an exciting time.
Good. Brian, how about Kirksey? What have they been doing?
So even before the pandemic, we also have remote working. So just like how Laura said, for us, switching from working in the office versus working from home wasn't a big challenge. It's hard to get used to that. I would say, like, it's really your mindset is like your workplace is the place you work and your home is the place to rest. Now both of that merge. I think that's the most challenging thing that you have to adapt to. Um, but after that, I think everything kind of like smooth sailing after a while, like just the first week of getting used to it. We do have some slowdown moment because of, I think the pandemic hit everybody somewhat equally, right? Um, so instead of we utilize that time to refocus ourselves and explore like doing research and explore options to how the corporate interiors will be after the pandemic, just like how Laura and her team did. I think that is the goal, like what after all of this pandemic, how life would be, how the work life would be, how people will react to it, how they gonna enjoy, like would they enjoy working from home more, or do they want to come back to the office, how you make the office become the place that people really want to come back.
Okay, next question. Prior to the pandemic, how did your firm recruit designers? Was it through Career Day, professional organizations, LinkedIn, advisory boards? We'll go ahead and start with Laura.
So PDR really focuses on internships. We really love internships. I think it's good for us and also good for the student, because the student has a chance to work with us and see if this is a good fit for me, and is this a place that I feel that I can learn and I can grow. And from PDR's aspect, it helps us see how does the individual fit into our team. And what they can contribute. So we, as far as recruiting goes, I think a little bit of all of the above. I think we do some visits to career days. I think we should do more, but we do some visits to career days. We put out things on our website. I know that is a tool that we use quite often of putting out job calls on our website. Also through the AIA and through, of course, interior design as well. So I think the only avenue that we really don't use as much for job calls would be LinkedIn. I think we use LinkedIn more as a kind of internal connecting tool, and not really to find interns or to find new hires. I would say the best resource is probably our website, because we're going to post on our website when we're looking for interns and when we're looking for new positions.
Okay. Lori, you can answer that.
That's kind of a multi-pronged question. So, the very first time I hired a designer, actually we put it on Indeed, and it was for a part-time designer. And of course we hired her. I loved her. She's full-time, been with me for years now. So surprisingly, Indeed was a good source. I had another one that I would have loved to have hired, but the timing wasn't right. And I actually got her through a friend of mine that our kids went to elementary school together. So word of mouth is really, really good. And I liked her so much because she came across very professionally. She, I don't want to say she pursued me, but she did in a very, very good way. So it almost got me thinking, whatever this person doesn't know, I can teach her, because innately her skills are very good at communicating, at expressing how we could work together. And I walked away feeling that, this is somebody that I would trust with any of my clients, because she is very professional and obviously wants to do it. So networking is really good. We have done in the past some Instagram posts. Those have always been really good. I think most of the people, though, that I hire, it's word of mouth, just because, if you know somebody that's really good, and they come in and you talk to them and you get a good feel, then I think that's just key. So again, it's kind of a multi-pronged thing. We have something we're going to put on the website. I don't think that we'll get that much push from that, but again, it's just another avenue. So I think networking and Indeed, and then word of mouth.
Okay, what about Ryan? How is Kirksey recruiting designers?
So we do have the internship program that annually, and I think a lot of that beside of the internship, we also networking. It's just the connection between people to people, and I think all of the above that you have listed, we also do that too. So it just like depends on multiple level aspect, and we just use multiple revenue to recruit people.
Okay, all right. And then Ryan, since you received a scholarship from Kirksey, what are some recommendations you can advise students on how to get internships in the design industry? How do they find out about them?
I would say that try your best, expose yourself as much as possible, joining all the networking events from professional organizations. Try to get out of your comfort zone. I know, like when you're in school, you kind of do whatever the teachers ask you, right? And then you think that's it, perfect. When I got the A grade on that, an A letter on that, you guys think that you got done such a wonderful job. But then when you actually go out there, enjoy all of this conference, enjoy the professional organizations, you will have a chance to expose yourself and see how the others are doing. And I think that's just really important. And because when you see the differences between you and the others, you will know where you are lacking and when you didn't do it right, and you can improve on it, and that will make you have a much stronger portfolio. And just go out there and don't be afraid to ask questions and even apply for things that you don't know, because I think you don't know what you don't know, and when you apply for things that you don't know, and you think that if you give your 100% of yourself on it, you will be able to do it, and that is the way to go.
Okay, all right. This question is for Lori and Laura. ASID's mission statement is Design Impacts Lives. The COVID pandemic has had a worldly impact on design now and for years to come. What types of post-COVID considerations will your firm be implementing? And Lori, you can start.
Okay. It's interesting because as a real estate broker and as a designer, I get to see a lot of different things in action. And the one thing that I'm seeing as I walk potential buyers through homes is what they want now. They want smaller spaces. Or let me rephrase that. They want spaces that they can go to that have doors. For instance, they want to have a study. Doesn't really matter what size, they want to have a study that they can shut doors, because that way they don't have kids, they don't have dogs barking when they're on their Zoom meetings. A lot of clients know that they're not going back to the office until at least second quarter next year. So that's really important. The other thing that we're finding is more and more people want to have an area in their home that they can exercise. And again, they want a designated area. Preferably with doors so the dogs don't come in and bother them when they're exercising. So, it's interesting because it used to be everybody wanted everything open, and we're kind of stepping back from that now and having more rooms that are centered for a particular use. I'm finding too that people are really redoing their homes. It's one of those things where they've been there for so long. It's like, I am so sick of my kitchen, or my bathroom is terrible, or I need to redo this chair. People are paying more attention to home, and it's almost like they're cocooning. So they're not as quick to throw out what they've got, but they want to redo it. On the other hand, some people are like, I can move anywhere I want because I'm not going to be going back to an office. So I can move 30 miles out of town and it doesn't really matter. So, you know, as far as post-COVID, I do. I think, you know, the other big thing that we've found is that people are not afraid to make decisions and act on them as it used to be. So more people are used to more upheaval and more change, and it's not as big of a deal as it used to be. So, you know, it's very interesting to see what people want, what they want to do, how long they want to be there. So I think, you know, all of those different things, it does. It's impacted lives. It's impacted how we use our homes and how much we're in our homes. And frankly, the exterior of our homes too. You know, more people want a place to go outside in the backyard that reminds them of a bar that they like to go to, you know, with the lights and, you know, not as much grass. So more people want to be comfortable and use their homes better.
Good. And Laura, your response to this question?
So, you know, the first reaction we saw from people was very, you know, so I do corporate interiors. So we
Right.
work with really large companies. So we're not doing residential at all. So we work with really large companies, ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips. The last big project I did was HP, like the computer company, the HP's campus. And so these level of clients have to look at the pandemic in a very different way because they have thousands of workers that are going to come back to their offices. And how's that going to go? And nobody wants to have an outbreak at their office or be responsible for that. So I think the first reaction was super, you know, the first response was very reactionary of let's put up plastic barriers everywhere. But I think the reality in the future is that no one wants to come back to a workplace that has plastic partitions and stickers of walk here, don't walk there, don't touch this, don't touch that. And it's just not, it's taken everything that we've worked the last 10 years to put this human experience, this, you know, what they call the residential, this wellness and well-being in the workplace. We've worked the last 10 years to build that up. And I think the reaction to the pandemic was to all of a sudden tear all that down by making a plastic stickered space. And so, you know, the clients are saying, wait, maybe we were too quick. Let's take a step back and talk about what workplace are people going to want to come back to? When you have the choice to work from home or go to the workplace, what kind of workplace do you need? And what are you coming for? You're coming for collaboration because, you know, you don't get to collaborate with your team in person, but then you might also be coming for focus. You might have 4 kids at home and 2 dogs. You need to go to the workplace because you need a place to focus and, you know, enhance your well-being. And so I think we're going to see both of those in the office. So I think it's an exciting time to really rethink what's needed. And on a personal note, totally feel you, Lori, on the needing closed doors, because I have an open concept house. I have a 4-year-old, a husband that works from home, and a closed door would be really great. So I really feel you on that one. But yeah, I think our clients are going to come back to the office for 2 reasons. They either want to collaborate or they need that focused well-being time.
Okay, well, very good. Well, I want to thank the panelists and thank you students for attending. And we're going to be taking some questions now from the students.
Hey, I'm Sarah, and I think I had one of the first questions. My question is, do you have any advice for recent grads during this time of COVID? And then do I need to be tailoring my job search if I'm interested in being at a large firm in the future?
I guess I'll answer that a little bit. You are right. There's not a lot of hiring going on right now, and I also, you know, our market is cyclical. You know, when I graduated from college, it wasn't a pandemic, but it was, you know, something else. There's going to be ups and downs. And so there will be times when firms aren't hiring. And what I would say during that time is I think Ryan said it very nicely, just be bold, email them and just say, I know you're not hiring, but here's what I've been looking at. Here's what I've been working on. When you're ready for interns, when you're ready for people, I'm here, I'm interested. Here's why I'm specifically interested in your firm. I think what turns us off a little bit sometimes is someone just like, I want any job. And we don't want someone that just wants any job. We want someone who really likes what we do and really wants to connect with us and contribute to what we're doing specifically, because we want to make sure that it's a good fit for you, and not that you're just going to, anything is fine. And so I think that, just staying in contact, building up your skill sets. I think there was a question that came, I saw with what kind of skills do you recommend students focusing on? I think Lori put it very well in being able to speak professionally, being able to write emails professionally. I know that's crazy, but there's so many, I see some of our young people definitely doing some emails where they'll start the email like, hey guys, or hey, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're emailing a client. We are not inviting people to, like dinner. And so, building up your professional skills, your research skills. I think the programs like InDesign and Revit and all those things are wonderful, but you can learn those things. I think those things can, easily be taught. What can't be learned, or what can't be taught quickly, I think is the drive and the desire to learn and to grow and to research and to ask questions. That's what we're looking for. We can teach you the programs. We can teach you how to use Excel, if you don't know how to use Excel. So that would be my advice, is to reach out to them, even if they're not hiring, and just say, I'm here, and go to, network, go to professional things like this. I see you all on this email. I know you, I see you all on this Zoom call. I know that you care. I see your names, email me. And we'll see if you can, come and intern with us.
Excellent. Do we have
Yeah,
another?
I
Oh.
think that I'm sorry, I
Go
just
ahead,
gonna
Ryan.
build up on what Laura just said. I think
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I totally agree with Laura, and I think that being give yourself out there is really important. Don't afraid to just contact with any employers like that you're potentially interested in, because like back in the time when I do it, they are not necessarily hiring at that moment that when I send them the email, but I'm just like, hey guys, I just want to quickly send you guys my portfolio, and I'm really enjoy and like looking at your portfolio and things like that. So just put yourself out there. That will make you go a long way.
Agreed. And, I don't know if y'all remember me talking about that one person that pursued me. But again, she treated it like she really wanted this job. And again, she knew up front I wasn't hiring, but I can promise you when I do, that's who I'm going to hire, because she came in here professionally. She had her portfolio. She would follow up. Follow up is key. I mean, she followed up multiple times, and in the span of weeks and weeks. So, don't forget to do that, but just treat it as it's something that you really want. And because you'll be passionate about it, the employer will know that.
Great advice. Do we have
Thank
another
you.
question?
Yeah, we do have another question. This is from Andre. The question is, what kind of networking opportunities and skills do you recommend students to focus on? And have these changed in light of the pandemic? Thank you, Andre, for the question.
Yeah, that's a good question, because networking has gotten a lot more difficult, obviously.
Yes.
But because we're not face to face, and we're not at so many of the gatherings that we used to have, I think things like this are really important, because not only are you seeing who else is out there, but you're making connections. For instance, if you called me in a month and said, hey, I was I was on this. Oh, how can I help you? I do think that belonging to ASID is very important. That in itself is a great way to network. You think about it, we have over 600 members, and we're members not only because of what it offers you as far as being out there and being seen as more professional, but it also helps you because you can call other members and ask for help. I mean, that's what we're here for. We are a very strong community. So, even if it's not networking in person, network in classes, network at any kind of events you can. And if you see any of the board members from ASID, come up and say hi. We want to get to know you.
Yeah, I think that is one thing that a lot of employers looking forward to, like your personality. Like the more they know about you, the more they understand your personality, the more interesting they would have in you, I would say.
Good. And Laura?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it's hard right now because there's not physical networking things, but if you attend a talk, if you attend a seminar and you come to the table with context of I saw you at this, or I was at this talk, I saw you were there too, and I thought we might connect. I was, seeing if you had any opportunities. It shows that you care. It shows that you are out there, you're learning. And so I think, I think that's one thing that you can do. Things that have changed in light of the pandemic. I do think that we are looking for more people now than we used to that focus on well-being and sustainability. A lot of our clients, at least for what I do, that was kind of we'll do it, but we're probably going to value engineer it out because we don't have the budget for that. And now it's something that people are demanding. If they're going to come back to the workplace, if they're going to come back to the office, they want to come back to somewhere that is going to enhance their well-being. They want to come back to an environmentally responsible space. And we haven't seen, I think in the past few years, I feel like a lot of the younger people that we've seen coming in just haven't really focused on this, or maybe don't have any interest in it, or and so people that have interest in that and are interested in that, I think would be a skill or something that's changed since the pandemic, because it's something our clients are going to ask for.
And also, I think accreditations, as if you are as a student, you have more time than when you start working, and get yourself out there. And if you have an accreditation within your resume, it will put you stand out in front of employers more than the others. Like when back in the time when I think like ASID or any professional organization did a really good job on promoting them. So by attending professional organization like ASID and all the seminars and student event like scale, I think really important, because back in the time when I was a student, I was really motivated and inspired by a speaker from Scale that helped me putting myself in and get my accreditation for Well AP, and that really helped me stand out when I go looking for internship and looking for a job.
Very good.
Okay, our next question is from Kate Tenenbaum, and the question is, I'd love to learn how Laura, I think this is to Laura Beth, is incorporating sustainability in a corporate interior design, but it could go to Lori too, so you take it.
Sure. So, Ryan touched on well building. So LEED is a program that's been around for a really long time, and LEED focuses on the efficiency of the building and the efficiency of your systems and your carbon footprint and all those kind of bigger questions. So well building is a new program that came out about 6 or 7 years ago now. And we have been able to apply it to corporate interior design so much, because it's looking at the experience, the human experience of the space. And what we're doing when we're working on interiors is really shaping that environment for people. And well building is so wonderful with that, because it looks at not only, is your HVAC running efficiently, but what's the point of it running efficiently if everyone's freezing? Or what is the point of having tons of windows if people can't see their computer screen because the glare is out of control? And so well building is looking at the human experience. It's looking at mental health. How do you promote mental health in the workplace? How do you incorporate nature into interiors? And so I think sustainability when it comes to corporate interior design is looking a little less at the efficiencies of the building construction and looking more at the elements that you are putting in the space and how is that affecting someone's health, and not just health if they're sick or not sick, but health, their mental health.
Good point. Good point. See you at part 2 of Zoom into the future of interior design. And that will start at 12 o'clock to 1 with a focus on small firms. So thank you for attending.
I am going to introduce Crystal. She is our moderator today, and she is with ASID. She's an ASID member. She's also a registered interior designer. She is the past president of ASID Texas Gulf Coast chapter. And during her 20+ year career, she has won numerous design awards and has been featured in multiple design publications. She is principal and founder of CLR Design Services, a full-service residential and commercial interior design firm. Crystal received her bachelor's degree at Texas State University, where she graduated with honors from the interior design program. She's dedicated to creating a positive customer experience. Authenticity lies at the foundation of her work. Whether she is remodeling a bathroom, examining the intricacies of lighting design, or working directly with an architect on the layout of a new construction. With a touch of sophistication and a splash of color, Crystal unites her lively, luxurious style with the unique taste of each homeowner to ensure that his or her distinct personality shines through the vision that she brings to life. Given the intimate nature of her work, a close relationship with her clients is key to successfully renovating their sanctuary and in turn impacting their lives for the better. We also have Imelda Escatel. She's a residential interior designer. These are our panelists. Sorry, I switched. Imelda Escatel. She's a residential interior designer. She's also an emerging professional, and she's with ASID. She's the showroom manager at Scene One Interiors. Scene One Interiors has been in operation since 1982, specializing in design for new home construction, remodeling, and they offer an extensive showroom of furniture, art, and accessories for the design trade and design clientele. She received her BFA at the Art Institute of Houston. She's a wife to a retired U.S. Marine of 20 years, and she's the mother of 3 school-age daughters. Our next panelist is Belinda Bennett. She's also ASID, and she's approaching her 25-year anniversary for her firm, Bennett Design Group, here in Houston. She graduated from the University of Houston with a bachelor's in humanities and fine arts and interior design. Her company was founded on the notion that design matters for the success of business. BDG has surpassed a count of 500 projects since inception. Bennett Design Group's portfolio includes award-winning designs in aviation, healthcare, corporate, higher education, and churches. She has purposefully remained a small firm. However, to implement large-scale projects, BDG partners with architectural firms as a certified woman-owned business with the City of Houston. A few notable projects include 50 President's Clubs around the world for the former Continental Airlines, Houston Airport System, Houston Library System, and HCA hospitals. Belinda continues to thrive in the design process and continues to mentor and support our interior design industry. And then our last panelist is going to be Chandra Harris. She's ASID, NCIDQ, and she's a registered interior designer. She is the founder and principal of Chandra Harris Interiors. She's a registered interior designer with the Texas Board of Architectural Examiners. She is chair-elect chapter support team for ASID headquarters. She is the past president for American Society of Interior Designers, Texas Gulf Coast. She's the past president of Texas Association for Interior Design, and she's a former professor with Prairie View A&M University School of Architecture. She's been recognized for delivering uniquely integrated design solutions that uplift the human experience to live, work, and play. Chandra creates an array of projects that elevate a designed life of purpose with an unapologetic balance. Chandra designs to ensure that your space tells your story and incorporates your culture, history, and diversity. Founder and principal, Chandra is a professional member of ASID NCIDQ. She's a certified registered interior designer pursuing thoughtful and intelligent design for all people in all spaces. For Chandra, living on purpose meant making a significant shift from an engineering career to design. She could not suppress her inherent creativity and talent, which is enhanced by strong engineering skills. Entrepreneurially bound, she has been blessed to serve clients in the design industry innovatively and insightfully. A mind-blowing step-ordered journey has offered boundless opportunities. She's a speaker. She's taught seminars and CEUs. As a student, professionally, and as president of Texas Association for Interior Design, Chandra has advocated for interior design in Texas. One of the rewarding experiences in her career has been shaping design minds as a professor in architecture at Prairie View A&M University. So welcome to our panelists, and thank you, Crystal, for being our moderator, and we'll start our questions.
All right, thank you, Candace. Okay, so my first group of questions will be for Miss Belinda. So Belinda, what made you decide to get into commercial interior design in particular?
Well, I think it's funny because both my parents worked in a healthcare setting, and I was always hanging out at a hospital. And when I was a student, my professor said, you have to work at a design firm as part of the curriculum, and handed me, a person to contact which specialized in healthcare interiors. And so as a student going right into design at the same time that I was in college, it really kind of catapulted my career path. But at that time I thought, well, I love hanging out at the hospital. My first job is hospital, so I just started designing hospitals while I was in college and loved it. And that's kind of back when healthcare wasn't cool. So, I was kind of like the healthcare nerd at all the design events, but now everybody really enjoys getting into healthcare and the wellness of it and all the different aspects that genre of design has really been elevated, from lobby design, chapels, gift shops, cafes. You do everything outside of a nurse station and a patient, focused area. So because of the diversity within that project type, I've just stayed in healthcare forever, as well as all my other commercial work. So that's kind of how I really started focusing on commercial design, was right in college.
Great, thank you. Okay, now tell us a little bit about how you've been able to implement large-scale projects with a small commercial firm, and has your approach to this changed due to COVID? You touched a little bit about that on your bio, but talk to us about that and if anything's changed since COVID.
Okay, well, I think that how I've been able to work with large scale projects is because my firm is hired by large architectural firms. We've partnered with Gensler, HOK, down to mid-sized firms like Kirksey, we've almost worked with every firm in Houston on different project types. Sometimes the owner wants to have a woman-owned business specifically, or they want a small firm, and we're credentialed through the city of Houston and as a state hub, which opened up opportunities. So I think that that's been a great way to go. But for the most part, now that I'm more senior in my career, a lot of people call just because they want the expertise that we can offer. And we're not really hired as a minority-owned business for that reason specifically. And so that does bring us the large-scale projects to the table, which we really enjoy and thrive on. And we are a small firm. It's myself and 2 designers typically, and a student intern. And I've been that way for almost 25 years now. So we juggle a minimum, usually about 15 to 20 projects at one time, because they, of course, alternate in the phase of the project. So it gets a little crazy. And then as far as the approach to our projects, because of COVID, a lot of materials are having longer lead times and are extending past when owners want to move in. And so the problem's been that we're having to narrow our selection of product to things that are available. And so that's not as fun and limits our selection. So I feel like that's influenced us the most, because we've always been conscientious of things that are easy to maintain and cleanable. So that really hasn't changed too much for us. So.
What is your marketing strategy? Like, how do you get clients, and how has that changed recently, if it has changed at all?
Okay. Well, marketing strategy really ends up being a word of mouth. I know that sounds really unscientific and not as adventurous as some might think, but we do have a website, Bennett Design Group, and we get a lot of hits from our website. And we also mainly get word of mouth and clients calling because they walked into one of our spaces. And so your spaces end up being your marketing calling card. And that's really the main strength, I think, is our spaces that people walk into and experience. That's when we get the call.
All right. Thank you, Belinda.
Yeah.
All right, Chandra, I will ask you a couple of questions. First of all, I think it's really interesting that you started out being an engineer and now you're an interior designer. So can you tell us about your journey for the switch and why you decided to make that switch? You touched a little bit on it in your bio, but can you expand on that?
For sure. First of all, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. And what a phenomenal way to reach out to students during this time. So thank you. So I went into engineering for the money, flat out. I was working in a aircraft engineering company, and I was a clerk handling the engineer's pays, and I thought, I can do this. And so I literally switched from a business degree in college and went into engineering because I saw how much money they made. That's the honest truth. So, but I've always been a creative, and design kind of found me as I designed my own house or decorated at that time, because I didn't know the difference way back when. I just knew that I was unfulfilled in my job, and I was in my own house, and my family and friends would come by and they'd go, "Can you help me?" And I'd, be laying floors and doing faux treatments, moonlighting for my regular job. Well, during that and taking some classes at the local Home Depot, guys, I mean, it was really straight bones, and taking some classes at a community college about construction. That's where I thought I was headed. I really did find my passion for design. And me, I had to go and get all the credentials. So that's my probably my flaw. But at 36 years old, I went back to school for design. I learned two things. That design was two completely different things. So, and as I matriculated the program and worked internships like you guys will do, I began to know that it was the right path for me. So the great part of my journey as far as engineering is that my skill set in engineering coupled with my design skills complemented each other quite well. And so the linear thinking, the project management, the budgeting, the figuring out how to design elements practically, all of that came together for me. So that journey I didn't stop one thing and go into another. It just kind of came together. So I tell students all the time, do what you love to do because you love to do it. Don't do it for the money. Money lasts for about 5 years and then it's over. You're not happy anymore. So that's my journey. Oh, I'm happy now.
That's important. Have you noticed a change in your clientele or their requests since COVID? Like, are you used to get this kind of clientele, whether it's project-based or budget-based? How has that changed, or has it? And also, have the requests changed since COVID?
Oh, it has truly changed. So residentially, so I do everything. I'm a solution seeker. So I do commercial, I do residential, both. But my residential clients are begging for sanctuaries at their homes, having sat in them for, 8-9 months now. So it is a place, they're asking for places that are truly functional and places that can really relax and live better than they did prior to COVID. And then for my commercial clients, we are seeking, so we're having to kind of re-strategize, and Belinda probably can speak to some of this because she does all commercial, but we are having to learn how to keep employees safer. We're having to take different measures, of course, with social distancing, sanitization, cleanliness, staggering schedules. So we're really learning how to help them kind of matriculate again their spaces better.
And then I'll ask you the marketing question too. What is your marketing strategy? How do you get clients, and has it changed recently since COVID?
It has changed, not necessarily since COVID. I'm a word of mouth designer, was strictly word of mouth. So Belinda, I get it. Yeah, I get it. So what has changed for me, and I'll just take you just briefly through the journey. So when I started my company about 16 years ago, it began as what I can only surmise as a hobby. I had to switch the thinking that I'm not just a designer, but I own a design firm. And so along with that comes the business of design. And how do you stay business? How do you stay in business? How do you stay profitable? How do you do all those things? Yes, I'm a designer. I do design well. I didn't necessarily do business well. So I had to learn that, right? So along with that was the marketing piece. I'm not a social media person, and don't tell anybody. I'm just not. I can't stand it. But my clients have been begging me to get on social media. Clients want to know that you're viable, and they think about that thing in terms of your marketing and your social media and your website, or your picture's pretty, or this or that. Well, I'm a working designer, I'm butting elbows mostly all the time. So I'm having to rethink, and I have since the top of the year. So I'm working with a team to do the social media stuff.
There's always something we have to do.
Something that you don't like that you have to do for business, right? So that's where we are. But I am a word of mouth designer, and I prefer it that way because I get like-minded clients.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Melody, why did you choose interior design as a career, and how did you get your job at Scene One?
So the choice came in probably 3 parts. I always wanted to be a designer my whole life, even as a child, but I thought I was going to get into fashion. And then I was supporting my husband through his career in the military, and I had to put all of my career ambitions to the side and raise children in different parts of the country and world. So when he announced his retirement, I knew I was going to go back to school or do something. But at the time, I was working at a Pottery Barn store in La Jolla, California, which is paradise. And a lot of clients started to come in and ask for architectural advice. They really wanted to have integrity with their choices. So they were making purchases, but they were very specific. My home is a Spanish colonial. My home is a mission style. My home is a mid-century modern. And so when they were making purchases, they really wanted to talk to an expert. And I appeared to be one, but I wasn't. So we knew we were coming back to Texas because this is home base for us. And we had already purchased a home here back in the 90s. So I started researching where to study. And I had actually watched a program on TV. Some of you may have heard of Nina Magon of Contour Interior Design. She was participating in a program, a design competition, and she'd almost won. So I checked out her bio, saw that she went to the Art Institute of Houston, and I thought, well, I'll give that a shot, and went to school, did very well. I did very well in my portfolio show, and I won the portfolio show for my graduating class. That was exciting. Throughout that entire time, I knew that interior design was going to be kind of a sales kind of job if you're going to do it in small time. It is a lot of design, but it's a lot of sales. And I started seeking mentorships with you and Chandra at ASID. So I have no problem joining a networking group. It didn't matter if I didn't know a soul. Somebody always knew, oh, there's a new face. And I was approached, and I was able to make one friend, then another friend, and then another friend at ASID. And I joined your networking groups. I joined your student tours. And that's how I was able to make connections. And so I pretty much had opportunities lined up for me a year before I graduated. So I kind of was upon graduation, I was in a sweet spot where I knew that I had choices. I didn't really have to interview so much. It was almost like, well, I've already been offered a couple of things. Where should I go? And all of that was done just through the networking. And I think you all seeing I had some hustle under my belt, and I had kids, and I was participating and volunteering. That was an easy transition.
For some of the students that logged on a little later, Melody is an emerging professional. So what that means is you've been out of school less than 5 years. So Melody was one of the students. Several years ago, we took a group of students on tour to Dallas, and it was on the bus that she was able to have a conversation with her current boss, who was at that point my co-chair of it. And so we were all together on a bus to Dallas for 4 hours up and 4 hours back, and just having that connection and talking with people. I think Melody makes a very good point about the networking. So thank you. Belinda, you mentioned that the availability and price of commercial products has changed quite a bit. Can you talk to us a little bit about, like, are you sourcing from different vendors, or what are you trying to do to overcome that?
Well, we work with a bunch of different manufacturers, and what I find, and it's unusual for us, for upholsteries primarily, is that we always COM our fabric, which means to the student we select a fabric from a manufacturer over here, and they send it to the frame builder over there, and then it comes out a pretty chair or a upholstered piece. And now we're having to select from things that they keep in stock at the frame manufacturer, because there's just so much shortage in availability of fabrics and upholsteries. And so that's been our main change up since COVID, on just the way we have to select things to meet our deadlines. It's been a little bit more challenging for sure. Yeah. So that's been the main change. Yeah.
Chandra, if it's more difficult or more expensive to find alternative products, do you find that this is affecting the way that you charge clients now, as far as like your design time or your markups on the product, if it's difficult or more expensive to find alternative products?
Well, no, I don't change my charging structure. My fee structure remains the same. I mean, obviously, if there's going to be more hours associated to finding those products, then yeah. I think the best answer is to always just be honest with your client as to where the project is, what the availability is, and move accordingly. We can't really do anything about, acts of God and, health issues and all that. But we have to still matriculate business. We still have to get through business.
Are there any other factors that you consider differently now when working at bids for clients? And I'm speaking to more like design time, not necessarily products, but like how you charge the design fees. Are there different factors now, like, hey, you know, it might take me a little bit more time to source a different product, or this might take a little longer because there's holdups at a factory. Does that affect the way that you bid your design time to your clients?
It does. It's having that conversation with them on the front end that these are the probable situations that may come up. This may affect our time. This may affect product. It may affect lead times. So just having that conversation with them so that they are aware and not surprised, you know, in the design process.
Melody, has your workload as a relatively new designer in the workplace changed from the same time this year versus the same time last year? So like, is
Yes.
it, okay.
Yes, it has. We are actually busier than ever. So it seems like a scary climate for other businesses, but since construction was considered an essential business, what we do here at Scene One Interiors is a lot of new construction and remodeling. We actually provide all the design assistance to the client and to the builder. So if their business was essential, that means everything that we needed to provide to them, drawings, millwork drawings, all of those things, selections, all of those things were essential. So we have been busier than ever. There was a shelter in place in the spring set by the mayor. We tried to work from home, but honestly, as soon as the design center was open again, we came back, you know, we practice social distancing, but it has been very busy and we are not complaining. We are blessed and we're excited. It's been a profitable time for us. But I do feel that Chandra had hit the nail on the head. People are now viewing home as a sanctuary. So even decor and furniture, there's been a big demand for those things because people are studying, working from home, and they're also socializing at home. So outdoor furniture, there are shortages. All of the manufacturers are suffering from employee retainage and shortages, but we're still invoicing clients. They're willing to wait or compromise on selections to get what they want because they're utilizing their homes more than ever.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to switch gears a little bit to the questions that all of our students are dying to know is how to get a job. So my first question will be to Belinda. So you have a commercial firm. What do you look for in a new employee, like characteristics, work experience, technical skills, personality? What do you look for?
Well, I think that personality does play a lot into it. You want a person on your team that can be articulate in front of a client. A lot of what we do all day is correspondence. You need someone who can write well in email format and so forth. But, you know, a lot of it is how you're able to communicate, you know. Also, just the willingness to learn. We want someone with the attitude that also once you're taught a skill that can be built upon, we're not backing up or always moving forward. So, you know, as a designer, you're wearing many hats at a small firm. So not only do we want a person that can work on the computer, because unfortunately in design and commercial world, everything goes in the computer. So you start with the skill set of maybe SketchUp on how to communicate the design, and then either AutoCAD or Revit on how to go into the production of construction documents with the architectural firm. So our drawings are blended with our sheets going into the architect sheets. And so we have to be very adaptive. And because of being a small firm, you are hit with almost hourly demands that switch from project to project. So you have to be flexible at my firm on being able to like jump from, you know, this horse to that horse, because, you know, it's just the way it's going to go. by demand of the day. So being flexible is what we look for. Yeah, a good attitude. Yeah, pretty much.
How about you, Chandra, with your firm? What do you look for in a potential employee? What are, like, if I could have these, you know, top 2 or 3, what would impress me at an interview, or what do you look for?
I'm with Belinda. Personality is probably number 1 for me, because you have to be able to work in a firm, especially a small firm, because we're close knit. We run a lot of projects, and flexibility, I am with her. You have to be able to shift, and you have to be able to adapt, because you may be drawing one day and sourcing another day, and you know, so that it's a constant moving machine, and you have to be able to plug in appropriately. So those are the 2 things that I look for too. I can teach you skill set. You're going to get some skills in school, and you're going to get to the real world, and you're going to see that those skills are kind of minimum. As a adjunct professor in School of Architecture, I used to tell the kids, I know that's a lovely design, but it's going to slide down that hill because it has no structure. So school teaches you how to, you know, kind of design in a vacuum, and then you have to have real world practicality. So, and that's what you're going to learn on the job.
And our first session, our large commercial firm representative and our large residential firm representative said exactly the same thing that you ladies did. So for you students who are not on the first one, just know that our 4 designers from very different backgrounds, very different experiences, very different companies, top of their list was personality. And are you comfortable speaking? Do you speak like an adult? You know, so the skills from the first session, they said, I can teach you to learn this, this, and this. I mean, obviously there's some technical skills you need, but just encourage that to you, that it's you that's going to get your job. And then also, Chandra, what advice would you give a student who called you looking for employment? Like, if you were not hiring at the time, how would you suggest they get connections to get in front of possible employers if you cannot hire?
Well, I'm going to tell you now, I don't know where you guys are in your programs, but you start networking from day 1. You have to be affiliated with some design organizations. ASID, IIDA, I don't really care which one it is. I love them both. But networking for future employment. And so if you were looking for a job now, I mean, I'm going to be frank, it's really hard right now. That's why we're all kind of doing these Zoom casts. I can't tell you, I've been on probably about 4 or 5 in the last couple of months, talking to students about where to go for employment. But I want to kind of challenge you to look at things differently now that we're in this COVID situation. You have the opportunity now to make yourself as marketable as possible. You have the opportunity to backfill any of those skills. If you're not reading a design publication, and not just for pretty, but if you're not reading from functional, you know, how to draw, how to, you know, position yourself differently, then it's a kind of travesty to yourself. You have to be inundated with where you want to be, where you want to go. And so, and then that will help you develop that we're talking about, the personality for design, the flexibility for design, and kind of knowing things. I know that's a broad answer, because I didn't tell you you can go here to get a job, because I can't tell you that. I literally can't tell you that. But I will tell you that businesses are more, including mine. I'm like Belinda, I run anywhere from 16, 20 projects at a time. So businesses are interior design businesses are very busy right now, given the fact, and I think that it's going to get even more busier because of the healthcare that we're trying to bring home. So I think the jobs will exist. It's just networking. And when you call that future employer and they don't have anything, ask them. Start that dialogue. I hired a girl because she said, but wait a minute, let me ask you some questions. Okay, because that showed me she had a little bit of tenacity. And so ask questions, okay?
Thank you. Melody, since you're an emerging professional and you've only been out of school a couple of years, is there any other advice that you would give the students other than networking? Like, you know, Chandra explained about the tenacity, and continuing to go back to the same employers, not to be annoying, but to be persistent? Is there any advice you would like to give our students?
Yes, but it's, I wouldn't say it's necessarily about networking, but one of the things that I tried to remember when I was a student was to be recognizable. So I consistently showed up to things. Even if it wasn't a networking event, you know, if it were just, sometimes the design center would host these kind of sip and strolls and things like that. You know, it wasn't necessarily an ASID encourage things. Sometimes it was just a social thing. I wanted to maintain recognition. So that way, when I saw somebody, they were like, I see her everywhere, you know? And that's kind of what happened. And it's true. I graduated in 2017, but now working in this small firm, I actually do get to participate in interviews. So we are interviewing students, even though I'm not the principal here, but we've got to prepare these students for the principal. And so we start the process of elimination for him. So that way he gets the quality cut when it comes time to interview. But just correspond with us. We're a showroom, so we actually do have students walk in and introduce themselves and say, I'm a student, and my professor told me that I needed to tour this center so that I can see how you operate to the trade. And I've already had maybe 3 during the pandemic just say, I was told to come here and check it out. How do you sell to the trade? How do you help the trade? Oh, and you're also a design firm as well. How does that work? And I'm enthusiastic to share. So there are a lot of us out there who are willing to speak with you students and encourage you to come and tour, ask questions, shoot an email. I've reached out to your career development person, so you can reach back out to your career development person and find out who you can chat with. So we're busy, so we could be hiring. You don't know until you ask.
That's right. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Melody. Melody, have you taken the NCIDQ? And if so, can you give the students a little bit of picture? What was it like? What's the easiest and hardest, and maybe some suggestions for studying?
Oh, that's a good question. Yes, I'm taking the NCIDQ as we speak. I just finished the IDFX. Pay attention, guys. Your human factors class, that stuff, it seems irrelevant. It's relevant. So keep those notes, keep those binders of all that old material that you had in your first semester or your second semester. All that fundamentals, it really is relevant and gets you to the next steps in your design development career. I just missed the IDPX. I'll bet you it was 1 or 2 questions that I missed. So it was a doozy, and it was all very scenario based. So you do have a professional practices course. Pay attention. It's necessary. And now I'm prepping for the practicum. I signed up for IIDA, actually offered a course even during the pandemic. It's a Zoom course. Those were all investments. I invested in myself. So not getting my hair done and not getting my nails done, but I did pay for those courses. I think all of those notes that you have been taking, make flashcards out of them. Any quizzes that your professors gave you, if you missed them because you didn't know the answer, I would make a flashcard on an index card with the question, and then on the back of the flashcard, I would make an answer or put the right answer. So it's all really important stuff, and I can't wait till the next time I'm participating and you introduce me, Candace. Imelda Escatel, registered interior designer, or NCIDQ/ASID. Yeah, up there with you big wigs.
We believe in you. Belinda, how do you support students looking to get their NCIDQ certification, either through work or volunteering, or how do you support students if you've been able to do that?
Well, it's really been more focused on the team members at my firm. So typically someone's already graduated, they come onto my firm, they're a young budding designer, and I really want to encourage my team members to become professionals. So we typically pay a huge chunk of the study class. We also pay for the exam itself. And then once they become a professional, we also pay for the continuing education to keep their license up to date. So we really, as a small firm, I feel like it's hard enough with everything a designer needs to do. I just really try to support them that way financially, but then also giving them time off to study, and also right before the week of the exam, giving time off for that study chunk of time so they can go sit and not feel stressed when they go to their exam. So.
Thank you. Chandra, talking about education and furthering your education, do you recommend that a student return to college to further their interior design studies? Like after they've gotten their bachelor in interior design, or would you encourage them to say, get a master's in business, or at least take a couple of business courses? Or what do you think would be helpful in addition to their bachelor's degree and outside of NCIDQ?
I think you have to know what path you want to go on before you make that decision. If you want to be an entrepreneur, then yes, take some business classes or go get a master's in business, because you're going to need those. If you want to work for a large firm, then go work a little bit and see how that's working for you, and then go back to school. So it kind of depends on where you want to be in your path, in your career path.
Would you, a lot of students, as they're graduating college, I hear a lot of, oh, I want to go straight from college and straight to starting my own design firm. Would you recommend that? And if not, what would you recommend they do first?
No, I don't recommend. I personally don't recommend that at all. I did, but I had a whole other degree. I was already an adult. I was adulting already. I was 36 years old, so I had different skill set, right? So, but I think that you need to get your feet wet. I think you need to start working the design process, knowing what that is before you go out and start a business on your own. Unless you're just like, Warren Buffett and you have, that acumen, that's a whole other different thing. But you need to know the elements of design before you attempt to run a design firm. That's two totally different things.
Well, and I also think there's so many different facets of the design world. So if you prefer the more, I'll call it decorating side, where you're helping people select furniture. I'm not talking custom furniture, but you're more like their personal shopper. You're going to help them pick out things. That's a lot less risk than if you jump in to try to help someone remodel their kitchen. And it's just, you don't know what you don't know. And just to save yourself some liability, and to also, you always want to be the best asset to your clients. And I'm sure the ladies on this panel would agree. I never want to walk away from a project and have them think hiring a designer was a waste of time. So you want to be able to give them as much of your expertise as possible. So I think, and Belinda, maybe you can comment on this. So if someone wants to go out on their own, like I know that you did, would you suggest working for another firm for a few years to kind of get the ropes before they even start that? I mean, money aside, let's put money aside, even if you've got $1 million in your bank, right. Would you suggest doing that? And what are the benefits of doing that?
Well, since I was a commercial designer from the very beginning, you really have to be part of the architectural process to really learn how these large scale projects work. You could never just open your own firm and start designing a higher education or aviation project or hospital. So each one of these project types have such a vast knowledge bank that you have to learn in application and what are the codes and everything else. But as a business owner, working for the City of Houston airport system doing aviation work, the liability insurance alone can eat my whole fee, feels like, because the liability and aggregates that they make you have to do high-end work is a lot of money. So there's the liability aspect of commercial design that you just wouldn't want to put yourself in that position as a novice, not really understanding the depth of knowledge that's required. So I can't really speak on the residential side, but on the commercial side, you know, I could see if someone just really wanted to start out on their own right away, it'd be more like appointing office space that's already built out and more on the furnishing side, something like that. So commercially speaking, you have to gain the experience before you can open your firm and present yourself as an expert to a client.
Okay, I'll ask y'all one more question, and then I see we've got a question from a student in the chat box that I will get to in just a second. So Chandra, I'll start with you. What is, in your perspective, what's one positive and one negative thing about working for a small company?
Wow, that's an excellent question. The positive thing is that I really get to love and enjoy what I do on my own time. In time with clients, considering, you know, client schedules and all of that. So I do get to do that. The negative is that I wear all the hats. I am the janitor. I am the clerk. I am the designer. I am the CEO, the CFO, the cook, the, you know, I'm everybody. So that, and that's a lot of juggle. So you have to really, 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 really love this and have a passion to do it. And when I say this, I mean run a firm. Yes, I design. Again, I said that at the very beginning, but that's a portion of what we do, but we gotta keep it going. So, yeah.
Linda, how about you? Belinda,
Who is that for?
Oh,
Belinda, how about you? What
Oh.
what's one positive thing and one negative thing from your perspective about working in a small company, or running a small company, I should say?
Well, the positive for me is that being a small firm, you're more fluid and you can change the direction of the firm or of how projects approach, because you're not set in a big hierarchy of politics in a large firm. And I started my career with a large healthcare firm of about 200 people. And that was how I started my design career for 10 years before I broke out to Bennett Design Group. And so I saw immediately that I could change the direction and have more control over my design in general, as there's fewer people to influence that decision other than the client. So I really like being able to have the control of the design at the end of the day. So I was all about design and not the money, because really owning your own firm really isn't necessarily the best way to build income, for sure. I mean, it's, you have some flexibility. If you work, you make some money, but definitely you're sharing that money with insurance and employees and office space and everything that goes with that. You're the one purchasing the AutoCAD and Revit licensing and everything that goes to it. As an employee at a large firm or a small firm, either way, as an employee, you know, you don't have that weight of meeting those monthly demands to run a business. So that's the con, is just having to run the business side of it and kind of taking on a other layer of stress other than just project stress. So you know, I see freedom in people who work for other firms, and I'm like, man, just to show up and design, that'd be so awesome, and then just go home. But usually a typical business owner is going home and doing invoicing and following through on emails at 10 o'clock at night that you couldn't get to during the day. So, you know, you just have to be an entrepreneurial spirit to continue to do that. And apparently I like it because I'll celebrate 25 years next year of owning Bennett Design Group, which when I started it, I certainly didn't think I would stick with it this long, and I have. So you just have to have the passion for design, I think, to continue to do it for this amount of time. You don't see a lot of designers my age because of the stress level and the dedication it takes to a client, residential or commercial, in my opinion. But you'll find that with your design degree, you can go other directions. And so we'll see a lot of people hop off to selling product and being involved in the industry in other ways at dealerships, either in materials and flooring or furniture. So there's a lot of things you can do with your degree, which is always so nice to still interact and be on design teams, but there's so many different ways to do it. So thanks for the opportunity for me to just kind of put that out in the world.
Sure. Okay, well, real quick, Melody, I want to get your take, and then we have a couple student questions. We just have a few minutes left. So, Melody, since you're an employee, so Chandra and Linda are employers. So, since you're an employee, from your perspective,
Definitely.
What's one positive and one negative for working for a small company?
So the positive is I do everything from the beginning inception of the design, sitting in an office with the architect, looking at drawings all the way to the last fluffy pillow that we put. So we do every facet of design, and that's what you get when you work at a small residential firm. So I don't just do drawings. I do drawings, invoicing, purchase ordering, decorating, construction. So I have a vast knowledge of every project. I know I'm an expert in each project because of that. The con, really, it's just, if I worked at Gensler or maybe even Kirksey, I could get a full benefit package, maybe some health insurance, retirement, and all of that. I actually kind of liked the family kind of community that we have here. It's different, we're a family here. It's just a handful of us, and that's probably all we need. And we all hustle, but yeah, that corporate structure that you can get from the benefit package that you can get from a corporate structure is probably the one thing that we're missing. But some of us just, we've already, considered that or taken that into consideration.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so Annie and Monica, I'm not sure which one of you are going to field questions. We have a couple of questions from students in the chat box. Y'all want to read the questions for our panelists?
Yes, I will, Crystal, and thank you everyone for being here. This is from Caitlin. I hope I say it right.
That meeting was from 12 to 1.
The question is for your interns. What type of jobs do they do at the office? If, for example, do they pick up material swatches, make phone calls, being a little specific so they can understand exactly what an intern would be doing for a large or a small firm?
So Chandra, why don't you take that one first?
Okay, I like to begin cultivating my interns right away in the business world, or some of those soft skills, I should say. So teaching them how to call a vendor, what to look for, what kind of questions to ask. Are you asking about lead time? Are you asking about pricing? And having them make those connections and relationships with vendors. Again, we talked about earlier about the ability to be flexible, but also the ability to have that personality, and then also to be able to talk, to be able to write, to be able to communicate in a way that design requires us to, and not just from a drawing standpoint, but those soft skills are what's important to me. So I kind of inundated, try to get them going that route first.
And one thing that we do at Bennett Design Group is I try to take the interns with me to all my meetings and introduce them as an intern so that they can hear the business language. If it's a healthcare client, they can hear the questions that come up about healthcare. I also take them out to the construction site so they can see when they draw a wall, what does that wall look like? Just some practical skills. Seeing how things go from 2D to 3D is really important to start to understand scale that you're drawing. So, you know, we have also, of course, the CD set, start training them how to do millwork drawings and things like that too.
I don't know if y'all are interested to hear about the residential side, but same thing. Interns can take turns with the other senior designers here and go on trips to job sites, come to the workrooms, come to the vendors where we source selections, and they're there, you know, maybe with a notepad, just kind of soaking it all in. Kind of helping us maintain we have an extensive fabric library, you know, keeping those things organized, but it's boot camp. They just jump right in and they learn everything like day one.
Boot camp.
Yeah.
That's a great word. Boot camp.
Annie, we've got time for one, maybe two quick questions. Do we have some more? You're muted.
Yeah, no, sorry. This is from Sarah Campbell. How do your strengths and weaknesses as a student change you once you entered into the professional industry? I like that.
Melody, we'll give that one to you. Melody?
I was trying to find the mute button.
Oh.
How do my strengths, well,
how do your strengths and weaknesses as a student change once you enter the professional industry?
I had to, sometimes you have to understand your professors are teaching you something. And I always thought it was a strength because I absorbed enthusiastically everything that my professors taught me. But I had to put that in the back seat for a minute, because now when you come on board, you do come with knowledge, but you're also needing to adopt your new employer's knowledge. And sometimes that I thought it was a strength, but it was kind of a weakness. So things operate different in the real world. And you kind of have to be a better listener. You know, you're eager to, ooh, I know that. I know the answer to that. Sometimes you just have to sit back and listen, and you've got new mentors now, and things are done a little bit differently in every firm and in the real world. So those things kind of presented themselves, good and bad. So I just had to adjust what I thought was a strength, and then too, what I thought was a weakness were strengths. So sometimes I didn't give myself enough credit with what I picked up from school. So keep that knowledge, but also be open to understanding that you're going to have to relearn that, because now you have a new professor, and that's your projects, and that's your employer. Did that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Because I don't see any more questions, but I would like to remind all the students that haven't put in their email for the contest. Make sure you please put your email in the school that you attend, so we can also make sure that you're accounted for. I only see just a few students that haven't done that. And if it's okay, if you don't mind me saying something real quick before I have a chance, I do want to thank everyone. Again, I think we had an incredible turnout. We've been working so diligent for the students and reaching out to you and meeting you. So it's been such a pleasure to working with this unbelievable committee that has just devoted so much time and energy to this. But for Benjamin Moore, I will have your information in your emails as well. I will be reaching out to you to see, as students, we provide you for a full color library. So you will be getting color tools information if you like them, and it will be shipped out directly to you. We also have our new website, our Benjamin Moore website, that we're very proud of. We'd love for you to go and visit that, for not only learning, seeing what architects sites do, but we do have a new designer page that is, I think, is very informative for you as well. We also have our new color of the year G and Teal 2134-660, which is one of my favorite deep blues that I think you'll really enjoy. And we also have our new color app that you can use if you don't have color tools. You can get that on your phone as a color app and look at each band deck individually on your phone. So we'd really like to reach out to you, and thank you again for your time and being here, and all the magnificent other artists that will be here, all the committees that were here. Belinda, Chandra, Mildy, you did such a great job. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Annie. And also, my screen froze, so I'm missing some things, but I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, well, we'll do a door prize drawing for everybody who enters their email, but then also, Annie, did I see that Benjamin Moore was going to offer something in the drawing as well? And if so, can you say what it is? My screen froze and I can't see it.
Yes, I don't know if you or Candace wanted to say it, but Benjamin Moore on the sweepstake, and that's why we want to make sure you enter your email and information. Benjamin Moore is sponsoring one of the ASID memberships for the students. So this is such a pleasure for me and an honor, because I love ASID, and for your students, it is such a great tool and gift for you to use. So Benjamin Moore is so proud and always honored to sponsor our students. So good luck, good luck, good luck.
All right, thanks again, students. We really hope you got a lot out of this. Thank you for attending both, if you were able to attend both. It is a blessing to us as a committee and to our panelists that you spent an hour of your day with us. We know it's especially lunchtime. It might be your only time to get away. So we really appreciate that. And if you have any questions, Monica put in early in the chat, there's an email to the administrator at ASID if you've got ASID questions. Brenda, can you quickly pop your email into the chat? Again, mine is frozen. So if you've got design questions, Brenda is the chair of our committee, and perhaps she can push you into the right direction. But with that, we will say goodbye. And as y'all sign off, I'll ask for my committee to stay on so we can chat for a few things. But I really appreciate everybody's time. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. If you students ever see us at an event, just come up, because you can see us. We can't see you, but if you recognize us, we're all friendly.
That's right.
I think none of us bite.
Yeah, yeah, we're friendly.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Thank you.